Hallelujah! Welcome back to the Living Proof Recovery Podcast. Reverend Cameron here, co-host Brian.
What up, Rev?
And we are here with our good friend Gary.
Hello.
Second time on the show here.
Dose.
Looking to get back into that spiritual piece again. It's kind of what we're going to start with here. So we'll just go ahead and kick it off here. Let Gary kind of dive right into what's on his mind tonight.
Heck yeah. Well, it's good to be back. Good to see you guys. Always nice to see old friends I haven't seen in a while. Man, with the spiritual piece is it's a big deal. It's one that I did not think would be a big deal in my life. And I have to say this before I forget, because when I go to these meetings and things like that, I mean, hell, by now, can I cuss on this show?
Yeah,
I forget.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're not going to air it if you don't.
Okay, good. By now, I've been to thousands of meetings. I always thought it'd be cool if I've actually kept a tally,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an absurd amount, but the more that I go, it's, you hear a lot of the same things, and that's cool, a lot of this is repetition, and a lot of it's copycat. And I've noticed, all humans, we copycat. You see an outfit or style you like and you wear it. You see somebody with, a Great Dane. Oh, I want a Great Dane. Or somebody drives the new Honda Civic. You want that. It's all copycat. Recovery is the same thing for me. If you want what we got, you do what we do. And it's copycat. And so a lot of these one-liners and cliches and everything that you hear all the time in early recovery, the more that I stay sober one day at a time, the more that they come to life. Mm-hmm. And I was in a meeting. It was my home group. It was, I don't know, we'll say recently. It was within the month. And my buddy was doing his lead, and he said something, and every now and then it's just the perfect time to hear something. Mm-hmm. And he said something, man, and it just hit me. And what he said was, he goes, when I got sober so that I could get the car, and I could get the house, and I could get the girlfriend, and I could get the job, and I could get the money. He goes, I wasn't really interested in God. They would talk about it, and that was cool, but I knew if I just would find better habits and get rid of my bad habits, I'd get the car and the girl, the job, and the money. And he said, now the car and the job and the money and the girlfriend and the house is where all my problems come from. Mm-hmm. And God is where I find my peace. And that hit me, and I'm like, man, and that's so true, because early on for me, I'm trying to salvage a house and salvage a marriage and salvage relationships and salvage all my possessions. And I knew they were all going to a storage unit, and I might not ever see them again. And now when I think about it, the car and the house and the job and the bills, that's where my problems come from. And where I find What?
Every time,
yeah. And where I find my peace and my serenity is that time that I spend with my higher power, which, for me, Alcoholics Anonymous was able to provide that bridge. I've been taught God my whole life, but the way I was taught, I guess naturally I just rebelled against it. And for some reason, and I guess it's that icy whatever that Bill Wilson talked about. I can't quote the book, but he said that icy intellectual whatever, when Ebby Thatcher said, have you ever considered a power, your own conception of God? And maybe that's what it was for me. I don't know. Nobody forced a conception on me. I just had to come up with a concept. I made a list of everything that I believed that if God were real, that God is to me. And on the other side was everything that God is not to me. My sponsor had me rip the right side up and throw it in the trash because we didn't need it anymore. And he said, we'll just focus on what God is. And AA taught me how to pray. You know what I mean? I said the third step, the serenity, the 7-step prayer. If I have a fear, there's a fear prayer. If I harm somebody, there's a harm prayer. And God knows that this world brings a lot of resentments my way. The house, the car, the job, the money. Mm-hmm. And I say the resentment prayer. And it has worked. Mm-hmm. They call it a spiritual toolkit. But I wanted to share that for anybody that hadn't heard it. Because I don't know, I'm a nerd like that. When I hear things, I'm like, damn. Yeah. And it's so true. All the material stuff that I thought I wanted so bad that I needed to get out of rehab so fast to get to was really just problems waiting for me. Mm-hmm. And then this God thing that I wanted nothing to do. And that just goes to show that I didn't have a drinking problem. I had a thinking problem. I thought that the job would fix me. Stable income. Just find some girl that'll love me in this beautiful house. That's what I thought. And I had no idea, what I really needed. And that was, just alone time with my higher power, whether it's prayer, whether it's gratitude, whether it's journaling, whether it's just listening to the birds in the morning with a warm cup of coffee, that stuff means the world to me. And yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys.
Go ahead.
No, I'll say it. Everything you just said is damn near identical to the way I went about this as well, right? Crazy. We're both in same 12-step program too.
Yeah.
So
It's
it
almost
was
like it works.
right.
If you
It's
work
crazy.
it, right?
Crazy.
I'm so done convincing people.
Yeah.
Like, just trust me.
Yeah, it's
And-
a crazy concept.
Especially early on for me, and through multiple attempts at getting sober, that's what I was always told. You're missing the most important part, because I would go through the steps and do the work and then go sponsor guys and all the stuff, but I never put any action into the spiritual side of it. I had no desire for it at that time, right? So then this time it was like, this is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Something's got to change. I got to do something different. I have to be willing to at least try. I couldn't, at that point, I was like, it ain't going to hurt to try. So mine started when I was in rehab with just someone giving me like a simple prayer. Just start with this. So I would just do that every day. And it, still to this day, it even hangs next to my door. So if I do, because I'm not perfect, right? I still slip up and get out of that spiritual routine sometimes, but that's a reminder for me before I hit the door every day. If I didn't do it, if I didn't pray first thing, before I walk out that door, it's a reminder to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's do this before I walk out into this world.
Yeah.
But just and it took some time. It took practice, right? It took some practice on that, just getting into that routine, and because I didn't know what I was praying to, or I had no idea. I was just throwing them out there. Something, hear me, and it's just amazing how some practice, and that's what they say, it's how we find God is with our feet, right? So that's what it took for me, was just to do it, just to try. It worked for so many other men and women.
Yeah.
Why couldn't it work for me too?
Yeah.
So for people early on in sobriety, I know this whole God thing, it scares people. It did me.
Same.
I'd be like, I can't get on board with this, so just to have a little bit of faith and just try and put in some work and practice, and here we are. Something, this ain't me running this, I know it. If I'm running it,
Yeah.
we all know what happens.
Looks a lot different.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of, I can't speak for everyone, but I think the overwhelming majority of us make mountains out of molehills.
Oh, yeah.
And our approach is where we get caught up. In the beginning, it's like, I got to do this perfect.
Yeah.
I have to know exactly what God is, what he looks like, where he's at, what he wants me to do, what he doesn't want me to do. Like, I have to have it all figured out, right?
Yeah.
I got to so I go into it on self. Like, I'm going to figure this out. And it's something I can't figure out, and I fail at it every time because I'm trying to be perfect. And I think that's where a lot of us get caught up, is we want to have all the answers. We want to have all the data before we make a decision. It's like, just make a fucking decision. Like, how's your way working?
Yeah.
Is it working? Because you're in rehab, bro. It's probably not working, right? Or you're coming out of the gutter. You want to talk to me about theology. Like, let's just go, dude. I don't think that, what's her name? Shit, my mind just went blank. Can't think of her name. Mother Teresa.
Oh.
I don't think she's walking around like in Calcutta wondering if she's being spiritual. No, she's just doing. Like, just go do. Like, just go do something. And Evan said it twice, I think at least twice, practice is the key word. You don't get good at something, most of the time, some of us are gifted at certain things, but most of the time we have to work at something in order to get good at it.
Yeah.
We have to put in the reps to get good at it. It's not like I just wake up one day full of self-will and say, you know what, I'm going to be selfless and I'm going to do what God wants me to do. You know, it's not that easy. I mean, we do have to make a decision in that manner, right? But it's not like I just make it. If I just make a decision and don't follow it up with any action, that decision is pointless.
Yeah.
Right? Because all I've done is make a decision. I haven't put any legwork in behind it. I haven't followed it up with anything.
Yeah.
Right? And something you said, I did something very similar with my sponsor. You know, you were talking about how you had a sheet of paper, and on one side is what you think God is, on the other side what He's not. I did it slightly different. It was basically the same thing, though. Basically, the way that I did it was, he had me put down all the things that alcohol and drugs did for me, you know, and I put down, made me more sociable, made me more comfortable, made me whatever it was. And then on the other side, he had me, basically what he did was go, okay, so you wrote down, it makes you more social. Guess what that means? That means you're antisocial. It makes you more comfortable. Guess what that means? That means you're uncomfortable, right? Because all these things were making me this thing. Makes me confident. Guess what? You're not confident. You're insecure. Makes me secure. Guess what? You're insecure, right? It makes me brave. Gives me courage. Guess what? You're scared. And I was seeing all those things, and then he broke it down to me like, this is what God wants you to be. He wants you to have courage. All these same things that booze did for me, because booze and drugs were my higher power. They were a power greater than me. Problem was, they're an awful God. You know, they were destruction.
Yeah.
Is what it ended up being. But it's kind of the same thing that you were talking about, and that really took me back. Is I just had to look at it like, this is what my way gets me. You know, it gets me destruction. It gets me chaos and calamity and all these things. And I just had to get to a point where I just had to be beaten down enough to where it was like, okay, man, like I give up. Like, let me try something new. And going into it, kind of hoping it didn't work. Yeah. So that I could be like, fuck you, you're wrong, man. I'm going to go back to doing it my way. But you know what? It worked.
Yeah.
And my life's been on fire ever since.
Yeah.
In a good way. You know, it's not been a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
You know, speaking, you just mentioned your life's been on fire, right? I can think back to early on, right, when I was newly sober, and I was super on fire early. You know how we're on that, riding that cloud, and everything's great, and I'm
make some room.
Yeah, I'm really practicing all this, and then I look to now, 4+ years in. You know, we just went on this awesome trip. Me and my wife just had this little trip by ourselves, no kids. We had a great time. Everything was great. And then earlier this week, the first couple days of this week, you know, I think it was Wednesday, she texts me while I'm at work, and she's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, nothing. What do you mean? She's like, you've been pretty irritable, you know, these last couple days, and like just something seems off with you. And, you know, she was like, maybe you need to go to a meeting, or, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, I have this show, I have our men's group, like I'm still involved in doing things. And then it clicked with me, and I was like, man, these last couple days I have not spent my morning in prayer and meditation. I have this routine that I do every morning.
Disconnected.
And those couple days I was disconnected from it, right? Even during this trip we had, I didn't do it in the morning, right? So I now went probably 5-6 days without doing my normal, and I wasn't in prayer first thing in the morning. And I have a meditation that I do. I have a routine every morning, right? And it just threw me in a funk, and I was super irritable. I know I was probably an asshole at times. You know what I mean? I know I was.
Not the reverend.
Right.
Let's be diplomatic.
Yeah,
He was irritable. He wasn't an asshole. He was irritable.
Right. But, you know, it's just, even 4+ years in, I'm like, man, I'm still practicing this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I hope one day I get to that point to where I can do it perfectly. Probably won't ever happen, but that's what I need to keep striving for. to where even 4+ years in, you know, life gets going and I can wake up in the morning and 3 kids and chaos in the morning getting kids ready for school to get out the door. Like, life in my house starts happening real fast every day. It's boom, boom, boom. You know, as soon as their eyes open, it's on. You know, so I still, you know, but just for, you know, this much time, still knowing that if I don't keep practicing, you know, it even other people see it, it affects other people in my life, right? When I don't stay on this spiritual journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. I'm going to try and make this make sense, but this is, you know, I love hanging out with you guys because, like, I start to have, you know, these, like, thoughts and sparks, you know, and I'm hearing you guys and I'm like, yeah, man, that's good stuff. And that's good stuff. And it allows me to go down these avenues. But, like, what you talked about, Brian, I'd not heard that before. That's really good. That's really good. I like that. Hats off to your sponsor on that. I'm going to have to start using that, even from a therapeutic standpoint. But, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, let's say alcohol gives me courage. And so what that means is that without alcohol, I am scared.
Right.
Okay, so I'm using alcohol to get courage. And here's the problem, because you said we use it as a higher power, which I can get with that. And we hear that a lot, and that's very fair. And the reason it's a bad higher power, it's not working, it's temporary. It's temporary. But what I've found through my work with human development is that humans are wired to have instant gratification, and alcohol will instantly gratify me and give me the courage.
Absolutely.
God, on the other hand, from my experience, is delayed gratification.
Yes.
However,
You gotta work for it.
the courage lasts way longer. So it's like, if I can, but it's so hard
the
to
long game.
convince the human being, especially a newcomer, and I don't even know how I was convinced. I think I just was so sick and tired of being sick and tired, I sat still long enough. But if you can sit tight long enough to start to experience your higher power, give you those same things, the positives of the euphoria from the alcohol and the drugs, and then watch that it's not so fluctuating. It's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And then for you to even notice it, what you did is you picked your bottle back up and drank it, right? You got back into your prayer.
Right.
And then it starts to come back. And I do think that the longer you do it, the more it's obvious when you start to take the wheel back. You know what I mean? Like, you noticed it. When my prayer routine's messed up, I mean, I'll be at work or something and I'll find myself have a short fuse and I'm like, did I pray this morning? You know, I feel like there's no way God's will's moving right here because I'm like getting real irritable. And then I'll have to reel it in and do what I got to do, you know, and thy will, not mine, be done. And just trust, you know, what's gotten me this far can get me through this moment. But, you know, something my sponsor tells me, for anybody that, you know, is listening to the podcast that is struggling with the God piece, which, like you said, is an overwhelming majority. I completely agree. There's 3 of us right here. We're batting 100. My sponsor says you don't have to know God to pray, but you do have to pray to know God. And so that to me was, okay. And again, everything's in the book. You know, I'm not a big book thumper by any means. However, that book has saved my life. So it's very, very valuable to me. But like, I killed a lot of brain cells, so I don't remember a lot. But once I read it, I'm like, yeah.
Same.
But again, the book says we're seeking spiritual progress, not spiritual perfection, because it knows that we're trying to perfect this thing. I have to align with a religion in order to do this. No, you don't.
He knew exactly who he was talking to when he wrote that.
Yes,
book. We're defined
yes.
by nature.
I mean, I love when he said the czar of the heavens, because that's always been my idea. It's this czar of the heavens that I will bow down to and live in fear from. And that was never something, if that's somebody's belief, I love that. I love that.
Well, it was working.
It didn't work for me. It didn't. So I came up with my own concept, and really it was kind of like my homie. You know what I mean? I used to just kind of chop it up with God, and I'd be like, hey, God, if you can just help keep me sober today, at the end of the day, thank you, God. And then all of a sudden I'm working these steps, and they're introducing prayers. And then I'm just, what my sponsor says, they've stood the test of time. He's like, you don't have to get cute with it. If you want to add these to prayers you already say, great. But I do strongly encourage you say these prayers. Because again, if you want what I got, you'll do what I do. And that's what he does. So I didn't try and like recreate the wheel or anything. I just said
That's
the prayers.
a key thing right there, man.
Yeah.
That's, if anybody takes anything from this episode, that's it. I know we're only a few minutes in, but you don't have to recreate the wheel. Like, and we do that, man, like so much. I mean, not even just in recovery, like just in life.
Oh yeah.
It's like I gotta do something different. I gotta do some big flashy thing. You know, no, you just gotta take the next step.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta do. And you know, something that I was thinking about is that you mentioned the big book, and it does say in there that the spiritual life is not a theory, that we have to live it. Right? So it's not just something that I think about, right? It's something that I have to practice, like Evan said, that I have to do in order to get the fruit from it. You know, it's like I don't just sit there and think about I'm being spiritual. You know, that's not enough, right? I have to live it. But it also says that it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action, rest on our laurels, right? And I think that's where a lot of so kind of taking this full circle, right? We were talking earlier about like early on in recovery, newcomers. But I think a lot of the danger is when things start going good in our life. You know, it's like I got a couple of years of sobriety, got my wife back, I got the car, got the job, I got all those things that you were talking about that your friend was saying.
That's when it's super easy for us to take the wheel
Exactly.
and try to.
It's like
you
look what
know?
I did, man. You know, look what I did. Or, man, I got this thing licked. And it's like, slowly, you know, I'll stop going to meetings. I'll stop, like Evan said, praying or whatever it is. And I think that's when the enemy shows up, you know, because he's not going to show up looking like the enemy. It's not going to show up looking all scary like a wolf. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing is what it is. It shows up on your doorstep like looking like that girl or, you know, that
new shiny car.
the new shiny car or the jewelry or whatever it is, you know, it's or the social media post that I'm putting out there to get likes or whatever it is. I'm trying to get these needs met through material avenues instead of through spiritual avenues. And before you know it, it's, man, I don't know what happened, but, you know, I'm on day 2 again. You know, I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got here, man. I was doing everything. Like, you know, I worked the 12 steps. I went to meetings. I had a sponsor. And it's like went to, you know, it's like didn't continue. And talks about in the 10th step, and you brought this up, it says we watch for these things to crop up in our life, the resentment, you know, the selfishness, the dishonesty, the fear, and things like that. And that's what he was doing. He was able to watch for it and be aware and go, oh, something's missing. You know, like how many, what's the percentage on your vape right now? The charge on it. Hit that bad boy.
57.
57. Ooh. All right. So at some point it was at 100%, right? And he's been using it without charging it. Eventually it's going to be dead, right? And it's the same thing with our spirituality. If I stop doing things, if I'm not plugging it back in on a daily basis and charging it, it's eventually going to run dry.
Yep.
And then some minuscule thing, like waking up in the morning, you know, happens. You know, and I'm like, man, I don't know why I'm so irritable. You know, it's because it normally doesn't take place like that. It's normally not like, I didn't pray this morning, so my day went to shit. It's normally like I didn't pray for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And then I'm running on E. You know, and then that's when I start to grab for that wheel. You know, I'm like, I got to fix this. I don't like the way I feel. I got to fix this. How do I fix this? Maybe I'll show out a little bit at work, so maybe I can get an attaboy. You know, do something to scratch that itch to make me feel better, you know, because I'm uncomfortable. And like you said, instant gratification. You know, I don't want to always go back to the tried and true things that I know work because I'm like, I need to feel better now.
Yeah.
That's just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to feel, I don't want to put it off.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't like feeling just the slightest bit of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it. You know, but after more we practice, we kind of get used to, like, there's times when we're going to be uncomfortable. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I am now, is I can be like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that sometimes I don't still try to fix, manage, and control and get all crazy, you know, because I can. But it's those stints are a lot shorter now than what they used to be.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do, I want to share a little bit of hope for somebody out there that is thinking, man, I just started this. Like, what's the end result? Not the end result, but like, what can it be like? And like, for example, something I got doing tonight. I have to be spiritually fit in order to do what I'm doing tonight, right? My daughter is she plays the drums for the School of Rock, and they have a gig tonight. And so when we're done here, I'm going to go to that. But it's at a bar that also does live music. Not a problem, right? I have a perfectly good reason to be there.
Yeah.
And it does. I went there last year, and it doesn't bother me at all to be around this stuff. But if I was not in a good place spiritually, I could not do that. And I would miss out on something that my daughter's worked hard to do. And I hear this a lot in recovery. You mentioned earlier that, you hear a lot of things in meetings and stuff. And I hear it a lot is like, people will talk about, and I'm not talking about people newly sober. I'm talking about people that have a little bit of time under their belt. Like, I'm not putting myself in any kind of situation that could possibly be bad. And it's like, how selfish of me would that be for me to not recover and not be able to go to do something like that tonight? When all I got to do is be uncomfortable for a little bit of time in order to be able to do that with my daughter. That would just like the ultimate act of selfishness on my part to say, you know what, I don't want to be uncomfortable, so I'm not going to do the work that I need to do. So sorry, honey, I can't come tonight because there's drinking there and I might be triggered, so I need to stay home. But Daddy loves you. Like, that's shitty.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I need to put myself out there, get uncomfortable for a little short period of time so that I can recover, so that I can go to something like that. And the reason that I'm afforded those opportunities now is because I got into that spiritual piece.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe if you guys want to talk about some, some hopeful things that, not necessarily what we have to do, but like where the end result can be of things that we can do in recovery as a result of being spiritually fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak on that for sure. And like you said, it's all in the book. The book says if you're spiritually fit, you can go anywhere and do anything. And I do think, it's safe to say that in early recovery, we don't want to test ourselves. But that's why, what you were saying, Brian, that I gathered is that you've put in the work to enhance and enlarge your spiritual life so that now you are able to go to things like this and do things like this.
And enjoy them.
Yeah.
And not be there like, oh my God, I just can't wait to leave because people are drinking.
Right, right. That. Yeah. And it works. It really does work. My sponsor says that the opposite of selfishness is not selflessness. He says it's service. The opposite of selfish is service. And so, I've taken heed to that, whether taking somebody through the book or, putting in the work or, hey, Gary, can you come speak at this meeting or can you start a meeting at, this place or whatever. I'm not available for everything, but if I am, I will. And I'm happy to, for the most part. And what that's done is it's enlarged my spiritual life. And for me, I'm a big live music guy. Live music was a part of my life for all of it since I was old enough to go. I've followed bands. I've been all over the country. I've actually been all over the world seeing live music. And I've been to music festivals in Mexico and things like that. And so, with that being said, getting sober, to me, first I was like, I don't think I'll be able to go anymore. Because again, right, we have it all figured out back then. Yeah. Right? I don't even know what sobriety is, but I know that I won't be able to go to concerts.
It can't be fun.
Right. Because my mind doesn't want it to be fun because it's afraid that I might actually stay sober. You know what I mean? And then I'm thinking, I'm not even going to enjoy music anymore.
Yeah.
I'm a drummer, just like your daughter. I love that. When you said that, I'm like, good for her, rock on, I'd love to hear her play. But, I'm thinking, for one, I'm not going to be able to go. For two, I'm not going to enjoy the music. For three, all of my concert buddies, what am I going to do with that? I mean, they like to do cocaine, while they're at the show, and they like to like drop acid and, hey, Gary, I got some mushrooms and all the things that has to come with music, because that's all I knew. And then, my second sponsor that I had was really involved in working sober tents at music festivals. And I got an opportunity. It was awesome. And I gravitated towards him because he had a Grateful Dead shirt on and he had a Grateful Dead tattoo. And I'm like, that's my guy. And so I knew that there's no way he gave up live music because he's still like so involved in it and everything. And what I learned is that there is an entire world of sober people that go to concerts, and usually where there's a lot of drugs and alcohol, there's also, there's recovery. And so for anybody listening that doesn't know, if you see yellow balloons at a concert, those are our people. Mm-hmm. And instead of one day at a time, it's a yellow sticker. It says one show at a time. And for anybody interested, it's harmoniuminc.org. You can go to that website and just contact them. And if they have any openings for any festivals, I'm pretty sure they do Bonnaroo, they do Railbird. And I'm not trying to plug them. This is just a great opportunity for music fans that might be fearful that they can't go see live music, because you absolutely can. But that being said, I also go to concerts all the time when I'm not doing the service work. Just as a fan. Yeah. And I'm able to do that. And I don't have any, and I know when the people are kind of going off into the corners, and I know what's going on, and they dipping the key and the baggie and the jaw going. And
three different directions.
Yeah. Or the person dancing that's far from to the rhythm of the music. Right. And I mean, and I get it. There go I. And they're having fun, or maybe they're miserable. I don't know. I know that my day tomorrow will probably be better than theirs. But the point is that like I can go to those places. I made a decision and I turned my will and my life over to the care of God. And my girlfriend, who's got more sobriety than I do, is a big music fan, and I go with her. And I've got a lot of friends I've met in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I go with them. And my sponsor is a big music fan, and I can go with him. And so like it's given me the opportunity, and it's just funny to think back. Like I was so fearful I wouldn't like music. What? You don't like the Doors one day and hate them the next. That's still the Doors. And so it's just been really cool that I can go anywhere. And I've gone to bars with buddies because they have good chicken wings, and we're shooting pool and I'm eating wings, and a couple of my old buddies, they're not like problematic like drug abuse or anything like that. They just drink beers like normal people. Mm-hmm. And like they'll have a couple beers and we'll crack the pool balls and we'll eat some wings, and it's fine. Yeah. I don't miss it. And I'm real grateful for that. And that's a gift, Brian, that I don't know that I knew would come with the spiritual work. Yeah. I thought they just wanted me to believe in God because like somebody's trying to convert me. But really what I find out is that no, it allows me to, it allows you to go to a bar to see your daughter play in School of Rock. It allows me to go to a concert. It allows me to see old friends and go to places that normally in early recovery I'd be real uncomfortable. And that's a gift. That's a gift. Yeah,
absolutely. And same thing. I've talked about it on here before. It's amazing to be able to do those things. Like one of mine was like my brother's bachelor party. All right, and at that time I think I was only like 6 months sober at that time, but I had done the work, right, and was in the solution, right, and here I am at this bar for a bachelor party, and I'm the only person there not drinking, and not one time I'm watching buckets come in, and I think I even bought him a bucket of beer, you know what I mean, for his bachelor party, and we're playing pool and and it never bothered me to be there. I never had that thought of, man, I really want that, but that wasn't me. I had to be spiritually fit to be able to do that. So, and to stay tapped in, it'll come back to me. There was something when you were just sharing a minute ago that I wanted to touch on before Gary's, and I lost it now, but it'll come back to me.
Well, I will say to that, I mean, if that isn't just concrete evidence of an alcoholic at a bachelor party with his brother, and everybody's drinking, and buckets are coming in, and I don't have the inclination or desire to drink. I'm the drinker. I'm the bucket buyer, bucket drinker, ripping shots. I'm getting blasted. Why are you drinking beer? This is a bachelor party. I'm getting 6 shots. And to be there and not have a drop. Like if
And
that
it was
doesn't show
and it was Derby as well. I do remember that.
I mean, come on, pile on. What are you, a toy tiger? Like, I mean, this is, if that doesn't, throwback, right?
Yeah.
If that doesn't show you that, and it's not, this isn't an AA plug, if that doesn't show you that recovery is real, I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I never thought I'd see the day.
Right. Absolutely.
So, did you remember it?
A little bit.
Okay.
So, you had mentioned, when you were sharing earlier, something that came to my mind was just how, in the beginning, I'm powerless, right? I'm powerless in the beginning over drugs and alcohol, and that's only mentioned in that first half of the first step. The only time we talk about that. And then I don't know about this higher power, right? But I have to become willing, even when I take that third step to turn my will and my life over. I didn't know what the hell that meant fully. I just had to be willing to continue to practice and put some action in. And then I went through those action steps that remove everything that's blocking me from my higher power, right? And then I get to the point to where we've talked about it. Now I've got a little power back, right? But I have to always remind myself that I don't know shit, and I'm not running this show.
Yeah.
I have to always remind myself that, because when you were sharing, and you kind of touched on that a little bit, just about, getting to that, once we get to this point, I still have to remember, like you were saying, you have to be spiritually fit, because we get to that point over some time where it's like, man, I'm look what I did. And hear people say, well, yeah, you got this, you got that. I don't have shit. I know that. I know what happens then, so I have got the power. I've got some power back now, but I have the power to continue to work on my relationship with God.
Yeah.
I have the power to do God's will because I stay spiritually fit. And then I proved to myself, within this last week, that I can still start to get sick again. And it only took a few days of getting off of that routine for me to start. That's what was happening. I was becoming spiritually sick again. And it took less than a week to where now I'm being an asshole and raising my voice to my kids and just irritable. Everything is just irking me, So I have to continuously remind myself that Evan is not in charge. I'm not running this show, and it all come back to that. I have to stay spiritually tapped in,
So, it's a really good definition of what humility is to know where your power comes from, right? To know that I got all kinds of power in my life today. I'm still powerless over drugs and alcohol, but I have all kinds of power in my life, right? God's working in our lives.
Yeah.
I'm not this pitiful, powerless person, right?
Yeah.
I
That's
think
kind of insulting to God too.
Yeah.
God created me, this pitiful power. No,
I think when we come in a lot, when we read that first step, we think that we're just this pitiful, whiny bitch. I don't know any other way to say it.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm just this little bitch, and that's not true. It's like once I take the second step, take the third step, and start to clear these things out, I get all this power back in my life. Now, I'm still powerless over drugs and alcohol. I still can't control how much I drink. I still can't stay away from the first one, but that's why I need God, right? That's why God comes into my life, and he gives me all kinds of power to do all kinds of things, right? To continue the work so that I don't need to make a decision on picking up another drink or not, right? So I get all this power going, and this is really cool thing because I'll go back to the humility part of it, right? I know where it comes from, though. I know it's not me, because left to my own devices my whole life, all I've done is just run it into the ground, just like you were saying, right? And because you're saying, like, I don't know shit. We know some things, but I'm not the one. I do know that I'm not the one doing this.
Right.
I'm not pulling the strings here.
Yeah.
I'm just following the directions of my boss.
Yeah.
Is what I'm doing. He gets all. It's like the quarterback gets all the credit, and the head coach does. Me being I don't know linebacker, I don't get all the credit, right? But it's my job to go out there and do the footwork, and then everybody else the results take care of themselves. And I'm going to go back to something Gary said earlier. He's talking about a gift, right? This is a gift, right? And then I could be wrong on this, but I can't think of another one. A gift. Most gifts come free. Most gifts come free. People give you a gift, and you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to work for it. It's just like, here's your gift. It's like, oh, thanks, man. Like, that's really cool. But this is a gift that we actually it comes with a price tag, right? We actually have to work to get this gift.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's not a gift. It is a gift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's one that we have to put a little sweat equity into.
Yeah.
But it's a gift that keeps on giving. It's not like I opened it on Christmas and then 2 days later I ain't playing with that gift anymore. It's like I get this gift and it just keeps giving.
Yeah.
If I just keep working for it and paying that price for it, it just keeps and keeps and keeps.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing to remember.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a reward
Yeah.
or a result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the humbling experiences I had early on, it was one of those aha moments, was, getting to like the 6 to 8 month mark of my sobriety and thinking, oh, I can't wait to celebrate a year and get
All about me.
Yeah. Get my friends and family and the balloon and the cake and let's go out and get tacos after.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if it was my sponsor or who, but they said, that's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about the newcomer. And I needed them
Instantly
to elaborate. They're like,
insulted.
you're showing them that it's possible to get a year.
Yeah.
And I didn't buck it because it made sense. Like, that made sense because I thought about all the times I sat in a meeting and saw people get 1 year, 2 year, 3 year and thinking, man, like,
Hope so.
I hope that I can get there, And that was humbling. And, I try and make sure with my sponsees, like, I don't ever want to rain on their parade. It's a big deal. And I'm so proud. And, that you did the work. You got the result. But it's to remind them that this is for the newcomer. Because I work with guys that get sober and they go live their life. And this isn't a knock on anybody. This is just a fact. And they don't celebrate their time. And I feel as though I failed them a little bit because I'm like, man, like, you did all of this and not to show a newcomer it can be done. Imagine if we all just didn't return back, keep coming back, and not show anybody that any of this works. And everybody in the meeting's got 18 days or less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who's going to be there to help?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy for those that continue to celebrate. For those that don't, no knock. I don't have enough. I don't have the luxury to judge you. But for those that do, I do have the luxury to say thank you. That means a lot to me. And somebody said something, and again, I'm a copycat, and it was based off of piggybacking off of you, Evan, is that, it's humbling to know where it's coming from. Because I hear people all the time, oh, that's not me, that's God. And I'm with that because I have data to show what me looks like, and this ain't that. But, somebody said, they're like, I don't like it when nobody gives himself credit because what God does for me is lay the tools at my feet, but I had to pick them up, right? And I can get with that.
It's not arrogance.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yeah. Because, I believe, my belief, Gary's belief, is that God lays the tools for all of us.
Yeah.
But some of us blot out our consciousness to the bitter end. And some of us seek a spiritual solution. And the only difference is some of us pick up the tools.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that God laid the tools there. And I'm grateful for the pain that motivated me enough to pick them up, not thinking they would work and partially hoping they wouldn't. Right.
Yeah.
But step two, I believed that God could, not that God would. So I had to believe that I was powerlessness and my life was unmanageable. Cool, yeah, I could run a slideshow on that real quick. Go to arrest.org and type my name up. That's obvious, right? And then I had to believe that I also was insane. Step 2 says restores to sanity.
Yeah.
Why would you need to be restored to sanity if you don't believe you're not insane, right? I don't know if that made sense. But
That made perfect sense.
so I believed that I was powerless. I didn't have an off switch. That was clear. When I don't have an off switch, my life becomes unmanageable. Very clear. Divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure, can't hold a job, financial instability. The list goes on and on and on. Narcan constantly in my nostrils, right? DUI, 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 flipped car, DUI.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then I had to realize that I was continuing to seek this solution that was continuing to be my problem, and that was insanity. It worked for Evan, it worked for Brian, it worked for Joe, it worked for, whatever. And so maybe it'll work for me. I believed it could. So then I had to make a decision. And like you said, Evan, I didn't know what that meant. And who the hell with 20 days sober on step 3 knows what that means? None of us.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just keep it 100. But we believe that God could. And then I believe that God will. And then I just do what my sponsor tells me, not thinking that a part of me is this is hocus pocus. But screw it. I've tried other things. They don't work.
Here's an easy way to explain to a newcomer what that means to make that decision. All you have to do is just tell them, look, man, you're making a decision to complete these steps and be willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
That simple.
Yeah. My sponsor said that. He said that you're making a decision to finish. Yeah. To get to the 12.
And by the time you get there, you're going to know what this is all about.
And then if you're working step 12, nothing so sure as gives us immunity from the drink than intensive work with another alcoholic. So you are now immune to it. And the more that you do that, you're enlarging your spiritual life. And the more that you do that, the mental obsession is removed. And then you've created a life you don't want to escape.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I know, right? Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Something I always harped on early on was, how do I know what God's will is? Here I am at step 3, turning my will and my life over to the care of God, and I'm like, I don't know and that was always my question.
Yeah.
What's God's will? Tell me what God's will is. What am I getting? You know what I mean? I didn't know. But the easiest way for me to explain it is, I guess you just kind of touched on it too, is it doesn't matter at that point. Just be willing. It doesn't matter. Now we're going to go.
I need to know now.
Now we're going to continue through these steps, and as long as, and it doesn't matter how long it takes you, but as long as you continue to try to live by these principles that we pick up on each step and practice them in our daily affairs, we know we're staying in God's will. It's that simple. You know what I mean? And I tried to make it so complicated. I need to know right now. I need to know it in specific detail. What is, you know what I mean? But it's all laid out in this order for a reason.
Yeah.
And as long as we continue to live by these principles and practice them, we don't have to worry about if we're not in God's will.
Yeah. And in the 80s, in the Big Book, just having made conscious contact with God, we will not be inspired at all times. We'll have all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. It tells us that, right? Yeah. We think that we're going to have these aha moments and the sea's going to part and I'm going to get the promotion and Pamela Anderson is going to ask me to marry her, right? And for those that are younger than me, they don't know her, but as a 90s baby, Pamela Anderson was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And so and I love that the book says that. I'm going to have all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find, right, that our inspiration, I'm going to butcher it now, but right, we more and more we come to rely upon it. And I love that you said that because I think it's important too that we don't always have to have all the answers. Even as a sponsor, it's just like you don't need to know that now because what you've done is putting the alcohol down. You've now opened yourself up to the sunlight of the Spirit. It's like you're sending God this invitation to say, I'm ready, however you will have me be, right? And then through the work, what alcoholics find in AA, from my experience, all my friends, everybody that I associate with, is that God comes because he could and would if he were sought. And if you keep seeking, God shows up. And then, there's a quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but it says something about like good things happen in everybody's life. It just depends on whether or not you notice it. And once I got open to the sunlight of the Spirit, I started noticing it. And when you notice it, that's followed with gratitude.
And it changes your perspective.
Yeah.
No, and that kind of something you said a minute ago too. It reminded me of it was probably, it was a while ago, maybe between 6 months, 8 months ago. There was a guy that, his sister and they were reaching out to me trying to get him help and get him involved and all this stuff. And, so of course I did that's my job, is to be there to help another alcoholic. And they come out on Facebook and they were like, oh, this is all thanks to you. Like, as far as me. And I was like, whoa, like, no.
Pump the brakes.
Like, and typically, and old Evan would have been like, I did that.
Yeah.
I did. And that's what I told him. I said, man, one day you're going to realize that I didn't do any of this. This was all God's doing. I was just in the position to where God was working through me for you.
It
wasn't me. Yeah, it wasn't me. I was the vessel carrying that message to you. Like, so.
That's right.
And that's what it is. But the old Evan would have been like, damn right I did that.
Yeah.
Pat me on the back some more.
That you know.
Yeah, we're sharing it.
But today I know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is God's work.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And I used to always question that. I thought I had the power. I was doing all this stuff. And it took some time, but this is all God's show. I know that.
And
all we're doing here.
The neurons are firing now. It's like, I think there's one place in the big book, there's probably more than one, but one that I know of where it gives us a good description of what God's will is. It says that God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free, right? So I don't think God, what is the opposite of those things, right? He doesn't want me to be miserable, unhappy, and in bondage. So if I can do those things, if I'm happy, joyous, and free, number one, that's contagious. Just like the opposite is. It's contagious. And people pick up on that kind of stuff, man. Like, God wants, this is just my opinion. I don't know this, but I think God wants us to help each other. I think that's hard to argue. Like, that's what charity is. Not that we're charity cases, but that's what real charity is the act of giving to other people. So I think he wants us to do that. And in order to, but we can't transmit something we don't have. So if I'm happy, joyous, and free, there's a pretty good chance that I'm living in God's will. Because the opposite of that would be, like I said, to be in bondage, right? So, and that's what happens when it says in the third step prayer, free me from the bondage of self, or relieve me of the bondage of self. It doesn't say relieve me of the bondage of vodka, relieve me of the bondage of heroin. It's self. Self's what got me all wrapped up. And that's what always had me wrapped up. And that's the same, it's not alcohol that gets me today. It's still self. It's the same story, just different chapter. Just looks different, but it's the same fucking thing, man. And it's a good gauge, right, to know if I'm living in God's will. If I keep in mind, like Evan mentioned, the principles, right? That's what leads me to be happy, joyous, and free. So if I live by those principles, like he was saying, then I will be happy, joyous, and free. Therefore, I am doing what God wants me to do, because I'm walking around carrying a message, not even knowing that I'm carrying it.
Yeah.
It's just in the way I walk. It's in the way I talk. It's the way that I interact with people. It's the way I treat people. That's one part of spirituality. It's not just about prayer, meditation, being able to go places. It's how am I treating others? That's a good definition of it as well. Like, how do I treat people? I can be sober, get in my chip and all that stuff, but still be a fucking dick. So it's not just putting down the drink is what makes me spiritual.
Yeah.
That doesn't do it at all. That gets me to a place where I can start from.
Yeah.
But that's not going to get me where I need to go.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I can be sober and be a dick. I can be an asshole.
Yeah.
But something that you were talking about earlier is, and I've had that same conversation with my sponsees about the chips, about why we get them. It's great for you. You should be excited to get your chip.
Absolutely.
But I've seen people that show up to meetings once a year only to get their chip. I'm sorry, that's lame. That's lame. In my
Yeah.
opinion, it's like you're not doing that for anybody else. You're not doing that to show the newcomer. You're only doing that because where you been at the other 364 days out of the year when we needed you here.
Yeah.
You know, that's lame. You know, like get your chip. Like that's cool, but I mean, I'm probably being judgmental, but I just think it's lame. I do. It's like
You're allowed to think that.
You know, I just do, man. That's just the way I think. You know, it's like it's selfish. You know, it's show other people that this works. And I mean, I guess if that helps somebody there, then it does its job.
Yeah.
But
Keep coming back, Brian.
yeah.
Well,
But I feel like if you're living that way, it's for self gratification and everything that a drink's not too far away, man.
yeah.
You know.
And I think that's fair, you know. And I mean, there's a lot of opinions.
And that's
that-
my opinion.
Yeah,
That's
there's a
what
lot of
it's not-
opinions too that like I hold in as well. That like where you don't want to be on this AA hilltop, right? But like I'm a human being and I have opinions, and so like and I don't even want to go down this route, but the guy that
Let's go.
the guy that hasn't ever worked the steps but is giving his lead in a meeting. You
Yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
not cool.
Or the guy that doesn't have a home group but then ask around for one that he can go do and get his chip.
Lame.
And for those to me, because what I'm thinking is that you want to be given experience, strength, and hope about working the program, and all the program is supposed to do is to introduce you to your higher power.
You're not in the program.
Right, and then I'm wondering, I'm like, how does, like, I'm interested, like, I want to sit in the audience and be like, I'm interested in what he's going to say, maybe there's something I can learn. But again, where I channel that is that I'm real grateful to be confident in the program that I work, where I don't feel very close to a drink, and I'm not immune to it, and I'm not safe, and I will never have this thing. But I'm happy that with almost 6 years sober, that I am still going to my meetings, and I'm still sponsoring guys, and I'm still talking about AA, and I'm still attracting rather than promoting, and all of that. And I hope one day at a time that I continue. And my sponsor has 29 years sober, and he does all those things.
Probably why you're still getting the gifts.
Yeah, and that's probably why he has 29 years sober, and he is truly happy, joyous, and free with a beautiful life. He just got back from Italy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm grateful for all that. And I was thinking about something, and I have to preface that I used to do a lot of acid. Let me just say that.
Okay. I like where this is going.
You were talking about the neurons and everything, and you're like, I think what God wants is for us to help people. And, I was thinking, like, I'm not a parent, you all are. So if I'm misspeaking here, please correct me. But I imagine a parent with multiple kids loves it when one sibling helps out the next. Big brother looks out for little sister,
Yes.
or hold hands walking into the first day of school, or, I'll help carry her backpack, it's heavy, or, is stirring up the mac and cheese to make sure it gets real creamy, whatever. And I imagine a parent sees that, and the feeling that they feel is, I did a good job. And I'm not trying to humanize God here, and I promise I'm going to make this make sense, but I did preface with I used to do a lot of acid.
I think I know where you're going.
And so, like, I work in treatment, and one of the things that I love more than anything is seeing when one guy helps out his brother. The new guy comes in and he's like, hey, if you need coffee, this is where the coffee is. If you need to get set up on food stamps, you can go to the case manager down there, and if you're eligible, they'll help you with that. I love seeing that, rather than, the guys that are kind of like standoffish to the new guy. It's when you show the new guy and you welcome the new guy, or like somebody checks in with a 2 out of 10 and they're miserable, and then the next day they say, Charlie pulled up on me last night at the house because I checked in and I was struggling, and we had a really good conversation. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because like I can't always be there, and the parent can't always be there. And I have 2 cats, and I hate to compare that to clients or kids, but that's my reality. And one cat will lay next to the other and it'll curl in there, and the other one will lick it and clean it. And I love that they're working together. And it's not that I'm humanizing God, but that's a feeling that I really, really enjoy. And a part of my spirituality is how certain things make me feel. And I wonder if God looks down at the humans that he's created and sees pockets of humans helping others, and God's like, well done. Well done. That makes me
Yeah.
feel good.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because to me, spirituality, like early on, it was when my dog would tilt his head or a baby would giggle or, you know, these things that made me feel a type of way I could not deny. The smell of fresh cut grass, that just summer's around the corner, you know, that to me, I couldn't put my finger on it. It's just the way I felt, you know, and one of my early struggles with God, I had a therapist and bless her heart, she had her hands full, but she was like, she's like, have you ever been in love? And I was like, yeah. She's like, how do you know? And I think I talked about this in our last podcast episode that I was on. And I was like, I mean, I guess movies taught me what love is, and family taught me what love is, and seeing my aunt and my uncle hold hands and kiss, and she's sitting on his lap on the deck in Gulf Shores and creating a family together. And I guess I just created this idea of love, but it wasn't tangible. I couldn't touch it. I couldn't say, look, right here, here's love.
That's love.
And she said, so you can believe that you're in love without it being a finite thing, but you can't believe in a higher power when you can't see or touch that,
Yep.
which is an infinite thing. I mean, like love, right? It's an infinite source. And it got me thinking. I was like, oh, I'm willing to believe in the things that I want to believe in.
Yeah.
And I'm unwilling to believe
how
in
we
the
roll.
things that I don't want to believe in. So I became willing to believe because I wanted to, because I didn't want to shoot heroin anymore. And that opened the door for me. Yeah,
It's deep.
it was good.
deep.
I did a lot of
Yeah.
acid back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. It's
So
awesome.
I think so. If we want to continue with your comparison, right, of God looking down on His kids, right? So you don't have kids, me and Evan do, but we can take it to a whole nother level. How does it feel when your kids sit down and spend time with you? Like they want to be there. It's not like you're going to come here and hang out with me. Like they sit down on the couch with you, talk to you, watch a game with you or something. How does that feel?
I mean, it's one of the greatest feelings in the world.
Exactly, right. So
You
how do
know.
you think, so we can equate that or
I see what
to
you
prayer and meditation, right? So we're His children.
Mm.
Now, if I'm unwilling to spend any time talking to or listening to my higher power, it's kind of the same way. You know, it's disconnected. All He wants is, He just wants us to spend a little bit of time so He can give us some lessons, some direction, things like that, just like we do with our kids. It's the same thing because, let's face it, we're probably a higher power to them. You know, we are, you know, we guide them, we teach them, and it's the same, we direct their lives, you know, we're supposed to.
Yeah.
You know, we're supposed to try to, at least, right? And it's the same thing with our higher power, is we have to spend time, we need to talk through prayer, but we also need to listen, right? Because there's nothing more frustrating. I've had 4 teenagers. There's nothing more frustrating than they come to you and ask you for help, and you give them suggestions or direction, and they don't listen, or they don't shut up long enough to hear what you're saying, you know? And that's the same thing with meditation. It's not just about talking to, you know, it's about, I need to listen. I need to watch for the things that He's putting in my life so that I can take the direction, you know? And you were talking about prayer earlier. Simple, keep it simple. You know, there's a simple prayer that I use, and I've been using it probably since like a year sober, like a year in. And it's very simple. It's just, God, use me. That's it.
Yeah. That took a fraction of a second.
Yeah, use me. You know, it's like, because use me to do whatever you want me to do. It's like a very
Yeah.
abbreviated version of the 3rd step prayer. Use me.
Yeah.
Where you want me at. Whatever you put in my way, like I'm going to be able to see that that's what you want me to do, you know? And so one thing about being spiritually fit is being able to go places that you thought before, or a lot of people think that you shouldn't go. But another part of that is knowing when
Yeah.
I shouldn't go there.
Yeah.
That's being spiritually fit too. It's
Absolutely.
like, should I go hang out with my buddy at the
Discernment.
trap house? No.
Yeah. Discernment.
Probably shouldn't go to the trap house.
Yeah.
Probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
Unless I'm going there on a 12-step call to drag somebody out of there, probably don't need to hang out at the trap house.
Yeah.
You know, and that's being spiritually fit. Oh, but they're watching the game. You know, I want to go. You know, no, I don't.
Yeah.
you know.
Because it's the only TV in the state of Kentucky.
I know, right?
Right.
Yeah, I know.
No, that's really good. And you know, I think of it like from a kid perspective, Dad could and would if he were sought. Come to me if you need something. Dad will help. You know what I mean? As a sponsor could and would if he were sought. You know, like if my sponsee, I'm not going out there saying, hey, I need to sponsor you. Right? You pursue me and you're seeking it and you're showing me willingness. And then that turns on a switch for me to be of service to you. And I feel the same with God, like a dad being of service. Like we might not know our kid's struggling, but if our kid reveals that they are, all of a sudden we flip a switch where we can be of service to them as a father with that dynamic going on. And I feel the same could be looked at with the relationship with God. God could and would if he were sought.
Not if he were found.
Yeah.
That's the key, right? You don't
Pursuing
have to
him.
find. You got to look.
Yeah.
Start looking.
Yeah, and I want my higher power to know that like that's my dog. Like I'm with you. I'm riding with you. It's not you're everything or you're nothing. I'm fully on board that you're everything. I haven't put a needle in my arm in 6 years. No new charges. You know, people like Evan can go into a bar at a bachelor party and not think about drinking. Are you kidding me? I'm with you, bub.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I turn it over every day. And at the end of the day, thank you. And you know, something that I learned is that I used to treat God like Santa Claus. And I would ask for something, and when it wasn't under my tree, God's not real.
Yeah.
God must be mad at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all this. And what I realized is that my sponsor touches on this all the time. He does a step study, and I love hearing him tell the newcomers this, and I need to hear it too, is that we've been, from the standpoint of what AA teaches us, let me say that, we've been doing it wrong. Hey, God, please get me out of this scrape. Hey,
Yeah.
God, please get me out of jail. I won't do it again. Hey, God, if
Yeah.
I can just get this job.
Foxhole prayers.
Yeah, foxhole prayers, and also trying to dictate what I think God should do for me in this big, juicy world, right? And then when I just started to simplify it, relieve me of the bondage of self. Do with me what you will. Thy will, not mine, be done. Now
Take away
all
my
I'm
difficulties.
asking, all I'm asking for is if you deem me worthy to be a vessel, I am willing to be that vessel for you. And that's changed everything. And I caught myself a couple years ago. My aunt, her cancer came back. And the first thing I wanted to do is pray to God to remove her cancer. And I caught myself. And I said, whoa. We don't pray like that anymore. God, your will, I'm asking for your will to be done with my aunt. Maybe God wants my aunt. Maybe there's something he has in store for her. Who am I to say, no, God, this human being needs my aunt. How dare you take her? Who am I? Right? Because now I'm trying to play God. And it changed things. Now, that was 2 years ago. My aunt is still alive and healthy and living a great life. And I'm not saying it always works out, but that was a shift in like a spiritual experience for me, that I'm no longer asking for God to fix things based off of how I think the world should run. I'm saying, your
Or
will
how
be
you
done.
feel.
Yeah. So far, if I've given it enough time and I've been aware and I've reflected, God's will being done has been pretty good. And my will hasn't.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it however he sees fit. She, it, they, whatever God is. I don't need to know the cookie cutter God. I just believe in something greater than me, and by golly, it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do too. It's some powerful stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
We could do this all night.
Yeah.
We could do this all night. Like I said, the neurons are firing.
Yeah.
We could do this all night, man. But I got to go see my dog.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up, dude. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Of course, man.
I
I
love
love it.
catching up with you. I love seeing you.
Love you guys. man.
Always just bring some heat. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Like I can see it. You know, it's not. It's so important that we understand. Like, it's not really important what people say; it's what they do.
Yeah.
You know, but when you start walking instead of talking, your talk starts to match your walk.
Yeah.
And like that's what's going on. You know, I can see it. I'm sure Evan can see it. I
Absolutely.
can speak for both of us. You know, dude, it's program's living through you, man, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks for having
we
me.
appreciate it.
Love you guys, man.
All right.
Keep doing the deal.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you guys. We will catch you next time.